Every tragedy has a moment when it could still have been stopped. For Elvis Presley, almost nobody knows when that moment was. The world remembers the day he died, the newspapers, the flashing cameras outside Graceland, the endless headlines announcing that the king of rock and roll was gone. But those headlines hid a far more heartbreaking truth. Elvis did not lose his life in a single day. He lost it one decision, one sleepless night, one prescription bottle, one silent warning at a time. And there was one man who watched it happen from closer than anyone else. Not a doctor, not a reporter, not a fan. His name was Red West. For years he stood beside Elvis through fame, fortune, sold-out concerts, and private moments the public would never see. He knew the man behind the legend, the man who laughed when the cameras were rolling, and sometimes sat alone long after everyone else had gone home. As the months passed, Red noticed something that terrified him. Elvis was changing. The energy that once filled every stage was fading. His movements became slower, his eyes looked heavier. The smile that inspired millions began to disappear the moment the spotlight turned away. Yet almost everyone around Elvis kept saying the same thing. "He's fine. He'll get through it. Don't upset him." Nobody wanted to confront the biggest star in the world. Nobody. Except Red. Because friendship is easy when everything is perfect. Real friendship begins the moment you're willing to risk losing someone, just to save them. One evening inside Graceland, Red made the hardest walk of his life. Every step toward Elvis's room felt heavier than the last. He wasn't carrying bad news, he was carrying the truth. And sometimes, the truth is the most dangerous thing a friend can say. When Red opened the door, he barely recognized the man sitting in front of him. This wasn't the fearless performer who could command an arena with a single note. This was a man who looked exhausted. A man trying to hide his pain behind another's smile. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Red broke the silence. "I've known you almost my entire life. I love you like a brother. And that's exactly why I can't stay quiet anymore." Elvis slowly raised his eyes. The room was silent enough to hear the ticking of a clock. Then Red said the words that would haunt him forever. "If this doesn't change, I'm afraid one day I'm going to lose you." Elvis didn't argue. He didn't get angry. He simply looked away. Sometimes, silence says more than words ever can. That silence would become the beginning of the final chapter of Elvis Presley's life. Because neither man knew it yet. But time was running out. The conversation inside Graceland changed everything. For the first time in years, someone had spoken to Elvis Presley, not as the king, but as a friend. The room remained silent. Elvis slowly stood up and walked toward the window. Outside, fans waited for hours, hoping to catch a single glimpse of the man they worshipped. Some held records, some carried flowers, some simply wanted to wave. They believed Elvis was living a dream. They never saw the loneliness waiting behind those walls. Without turning around, Elvis finally spoke. "You think I don't know?" His voice was calm, almost defeated. "You think I can't feel what's happening to me?" Red didn't answer, because deep inside, he already knew the truth. Elvis wasn't blind. He wasn't unaware. He was trapped. Every concert demanded perfection. Every appearance demanded a smile. Every headline expected another miracle. The world needed a legend, but legends aren't allowed to fall apart. For a long moment, neither man spoke. Then Elvis quietly said something that broke Red's heart. "I'm tired." Not tired after a concert. Not tired after traveling. Tired of pretending. Tired of disappointing people. Tired of waking up every morning feeling like he had to become Elvis Presley all over again. Red stepped closer. "You don't have to carry this alone." Elvis gave a faint smile. "I've been carrying it for years." The silence returned. Outside, the crowd kept cheering. Inside, two lifelong friends were fighting a battle no audience could see. Red knew words were no longer enough. Over the following weeks, he tried everything. He encouraged Elvis to slow down. He urged him to take care of his health. He pleaded with the people around him to stop pretending everything was fine. But every warning was met with the same answer. The show must go on. And the shows did go on, night after night, city after city, standing ovation after standing ovation. The audience saw a superstar. Red saw the cost of every performance. He watched Elvis leave the stage completely exhausted. He watched the long nights, the endless pressure, the growing isolation. Then came the moment Red had feared the most. Instead of listening, the people surrounding Elvis began seeing Red as the problem. His honesty became uncomfortable. His concern became unwelcome. The friend who refused to stay silent was slowly being pushed away. One day, the decision finally came. Red West was no longer welcome. Years of loyalty, years of friendship, ended with a single decision. As Red walked away from Graceland, he stopped and looked back one last time. He wasn't thinking about losing his job. He wasn't thinking about his future. He was thinking about the man still inside that house. Because deep down, he felt something he had never felt before. Not fear, not anger, but helplessness. For the first time, Red realized that saving Elvis might no longer be possible. And somewhere inside Graceland, the king stood completely alone. Neither of them knew it yet, but the countdown had already begun. Time doesn't ask if you're ready. It simply moves on. Months passed. Elvis kept walking onto the stage. The lights still came on. The crowds still screamed his name. Every performance ended with thunderous applause. To the world, nothing had changed. But Red West could no longer watch. He had said everything a friend could say. He had begged, he had warned, he had risked everything, and still, nothing changed. Then came the morning that would be remembered forever. August 16th, 1977. The phone rang. Red answered. He listened. He didn't say a single word. When the call ended, he slowly lowered the receiver. His wife looked at him. She didn't have to ask. She already knew. Red closed his eyes. The only thing he whispered was, "I was too late." Across America, radio stations stopped their music. Television programs were interrupted. Within hours, thousands of people were standing outside Graceland. Some were crying. Some were praying. Others simply stood there in silence, unable to believe that the voice which had defined a generation had fallen silent forever. But among all those broken hearts, none carried a heavier burden than Red West. Because while the world was mourning a legend, Red was mourning the friend he couldn't save. For years, people asked him the same question. Did you know this would happen? Red never answered with anger. He never blamed Elvis. He never searched for excuses. He simply carried the weight of a conversation that never left his mind. The day he looked his best friend in the eyes and begged him to slow down. There are no recordings of that conversation, no cameras, no photographs. Only the memory of two lifelong friends standing in a quiet room, one trying to save the other. History remembers Elvis Presley for the music he gave the world. But the people who loved him remember something else. They remember a man who carried impossible expectations, a man who made millions smile, while quietly fighting battles almost nobody could see. And they remember the friend who refused to stay silent, even when it cost him everything. Sometimes, the people who love us the most are the ones willing to tell us the truth we don't want to hear. Not to judge us, not to control us, but because they cannot bear the thought of losing us. Red West never got the ending he prayed for. He never got one more conversation, one more warning, one more chance. All he had left were memories, and one question that history will never answer. What if Elvis had listened? Maybe nothing would have changed. Maybe everything would have. We'll never know. But perhaps that isn't why this story still matters. It matters because somewhere today, someone is fighting a battle nobody else can see. Someone is waiting for a friend to notice, to ask one more question, to make one more phone call, to knock on one more door. Because sometimes a single conversation can change a life, and sometimes the greatest act of love is refusing to stay silent. Fade to black.